So let me just share my screen. Ayan. So can anybody see my screen po? So kita po ba yung screen natin?
Yes.
Ayan. So since I am on a presenter view, so I won't be able to see you on cam because I'm focused on discussing the common bookkeeping mistakes. So let me introduce myself. So I'm Carlo Carrasco and I'm working as a senior accounting associate and a supervisor from an accounting firm in Makati. So my mostly ang yung mga task ko is more on system implementation. So what I do is clients. I train clients on how they can navigate well, that how can they properly use the software. So the commonly used software that I usually train with our client is mostly QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop, since they are two of the most common softwares that is really saleable in the market. So we also have Zero, pero bihira-bihira siya dito. We also have Odoo, pero again, si Odoo kasi is bago lang yung market niya. So hindi pa siya ganun kakilala, but again, we have clients na gumagamit ng Odoo. Ayan, of course, I am a level 1 and level 2 QBO Pro Advisor. So I passed the exam, the certification for QBO this year. And I also did pass the QBO level 2. I also did pass the Intuit bookkeeping certified bookkeeping for Intuit. So more to go. So I'm also zero payroll certified. Pero hindi ko masyadong ginagamit yung zero payroll certified since I don't have clients I don't have clients yet for AU payroll. But definitely sooner we will be having clients for zero. So bibihira lang kasi yung market sa zero. Ayun. So going back, so what I'm going to discuss to you is the common bookkeeping mistakes. So all of us, even me as an accountant, we do all experience the headaches, no, the challenges, and even gone into several mistakes um when we record transactions. So I just made a research of some of the basic common mistake that we usually encounter. So what are those? So let me just proceed on the next screen. Number one, of course, the most common issue is the incorrect account classification. So dito pa lang, when we as bookkeepers, the real challenge is how do we analyze transactions. So yung account titles na ginagamit natin when we journalize and post transaction, that is where the real challenge is. So of course, any incorrect account classification can significantly affect the reports of a certain business, accuracy, compliance, decision making, and more. So a wrong entry, okay, a wrong classification of account title can lead to errors. So this can be misleading. Why? Kasi syempre, you are already reporting a figures that is wrongly classified into an account. For example, kung si bookkeeper na dapat ang record niya is repayment sa supplies pero nilagay niya as repairs and maintenance, so technically, meron ng issue doon. So misleading account can lead to incorrect presentation of the balance sheet, IS at saka cash flow. So again, it will also result to either underpayment or overpayment of taxes. So it is important for us bookkeepers that we have a strong foundation of basic accounting, the debit and credit, and also the nature of the account titles. Okay, so dapat alam nyo lahat yung nature ng account titles. So you would, as much as we can, minimize having wrongly classifying the transactions. Next is the lack of supporting document. The most common issues, especially now that we are now going to have our nasa tax season na tayo by next year. So one of the main issues that auditors usually check is the lack of supporting document. Again, all transactions should be backed up by substantial evidence, should be backed up by documents. I have a question. Um, are we aware po ba sa ease of paying taxes law here in the Philippines? Okay. So definitely, nung time na inimplementa ni BIR ang ease of paying taxes law, they have been so much strict when it comes to supporting documents. Okay? So even wala pa si ease of paying taxes, we have to assure that all of the transactions should be properly supported by documents. So right now, sa ease of paying taxes, the primary document for claiming input tax credit is of course invoice. The official receipt, collection receipt, and acknowledgement receipt, bill of lading, and other documents are considered as supplementary document as they are not valid for claiming input taxes. Again, without this proper document, there's a possibility that the BIR may disallow these expenses, or it could be possible na madadagdagan yung ITR payable kasi pwedeng i-disallow ni BIR yung mga expenses na walang documents. So again, all transactions should be backed up with supporting documents. Okay? Maliit man o malaki yung pera ay nilalabas ni company when they pay expenses or when they collect cash or check, they should be backed up with supporting document. You as a bookkeeper should be very skeptical about it. So wag po kayong papayag na magre-record ng transaction na walang supporting document. Otherwise, you might advise your client kung ano yan. Ang possible na mangyari yan is what we do is yung mga documents na walang transaction walang supporting document, usually nilalagay yun sa advances to employee, advances to officer kasi walang document. So hanggat hindi nagbibigay si client ng document, nilalagay natin siya sa advances. Ngayon, pag hindi pa rin sila nagbibigay, technically the auditor may make a decision to to either disallow this as a deductible expense and possible itataas niya pa yung ITR payable. So again, you have to ensure that your clients have supporting documents to ensure accuracy and compliance. Okay? Next, this is the proper main issue, the mixing of personal and business transactions. So I have to say this, so I have a handful of hard-headed clients na pinaghahalo ang personal and business transaction. So again, personal expenses can be considered as non-deductible, leading to a higher tax income or higher tax liability rather. Kasi hindi naman po talaga dinededuct ang personal expenses. Also, the main principle in accounting is the accounting entity concept, which states that transactions should be accounted separately. So all personal dapat sa personal, business lang is dapat business because we don't know kung kumikita yung negosyo kung ipinaghahalo natin yung mga personal expenses natin. Okay? So we have a handful of clients na pinapasok pa rin yung personal expenses. So the consequences is again, pwede siyang ilagay as party advances but I think it could be risky because there are some clients na nilulubog yon o nilalagay sa advances to related parties. This is also subject to documentary stamp tax. So if you're familiar with the BIR 1709, so I think that's a form declaring the company's transaction relating to advance to other related parties. So again, it's technically subject to documentary stamp tax. Of course, as we don't encourage client to record personal transactions, so as much as we can, dapat we don't record personal expenses, record only the business transaction. Okay, because mixing the personal expenses and business expenses can be a violation to BIR and even to SEC. Okay? This may result in disallowance, meaning magiging non-deductible siya and may increase penalties or may impose penalties or even fines during audit or even BRR audits. Next, another main reason kung bakit um, hindi rin reliable ang ating record is we don't reconcile bank accounts. How can we testify? How can we substantiate the balance of our client's bank account if they don't perform a monthly bank recon? Okay? Sa bank recon, we always assure that and we always need to check if the cash in book balance agree with the cash in bank. Okay? Kasi meron mga transaction kay bank na hindi pa nire-record sa book. So again, we compare which kung alin ang kulang sa mga transactions ng book at saka ng bank. Okay, so dapat kung ano yung wala sa book, kailangan, kung ano yung meron wala sa book, dapat i-reflect sa book. Okay? So again, importante ang bank recon. So auditors will always ask for a bank statement and to ensure that your client performs a bank recon. Otherwise, we would never know if your client's cash in bank is not reliable. Okay? Next, using journal entries for routine transaction. Okay. For those who are QuickBooks Pro advisors, zero advisors, or those who have experience in using softwares, the usage of journal entries should only recommended for adjusting entries. Those adjusting entries may include accruals, accrued income, accrued expense, deferred income, capital contributions, opening balances. Okay? You should not use journal entries to record adjusting entry for inventories because there's an appropriate transaction time for that. You should not use journal entries to record receivables. You should not use journal entries to record payables because this transaction type has a corresponding proper transaction type. Okay? The nature of transaction should be recorded depending on the transaction type. Okay? So if you are familiar with invoices, transfer fund or fund transfer, inventory quantity adjustment, pay down credit card, bills, pay bills, sales receipt. These are the routine transactions where you can use to properly record transaction. So I don't really encourage clients to use journal entries to record all transactions. Why? Because I have a separate discussion for that. So technically, hindi lahat ng transaction dapat hindi journal entry lang. There must be a corresponding feature that you can use to properly record the transaction. Okay? Next. Another thing is the inadequate handling of BAT. Okay? Recently, I just have a client when we were discussing about the separation of input BAT and output BAT. What happened is the client is actually considering BAT as part of the cost of the asset or the cost of expense. So what happened is that your asset is purely overstated and your input BAT is overstated. Nangyari, mas malaki pa rin yung BAT payable mo na dapat paliliitin lang natin siya. So there's a missed opportunity for a missed input BAT credits and inaccurate BAT return. Kaya importante that the computation of the output BAT and the input BAT is accurate. Okay? Yung offsetting ng dalawa will be dependent if it is payable or a receivable. Dapat sa entry pa lang sa books natin, especially on the part of those clients who are batable, they should double check the transactions. No? Dapat hiniwalay na agad yung input BAT. Okay, input BAT is the BAT claim for purchases. So those expenses that is subject to BAT, so dapat inihiwalay nyo sa ng input BAT. And those output BAT or those sales that comes from the sale, dapat inihiwalay nyo din kung ano ang BAT exempt, zero rated, or non-BAT. Okay, not properly separating input BAT and output BAT in the declaration of either a monthly or quarterly value-added taxes may lead to incorrect tax filing plus increase business tax liability. Okay? So, critically, sa lahat ng bottom-up client, you must encourage your client to always double-check the transaction. Now that the BAR, I think previously, so I think quarterly na yung declaration ng VAT pero hindi naman pinagbabawalan ni BIR na mag-monthly. So in whatever payments or in whatever declaration your client wants, either it's a monthly VAT or quarterly VAT, it's very important that your client understands that you also as a bookkeeper should understand the proper separation of the input VAT and the output VAT. Kasi dyan yung malalaman kung magkano yung babayaran, kung may babayaran, or kung magkano yung i-carry forward na input VAT which will be used on the next future period. Okay? Next. Another thing is you also need to record payroll. Payroll includes all the salaries, whether it's a minimum wage earners, employees of minimum wage earner, taxable or non-taxable. So dapat nire-reflect natin sa books yung properly recognition ng accrued payroll. Okay, so accrued payroll not only includes salaries, government contributions, okay, yung share ni employee, yung loans ng employee, and any other deductions to employees. Okay? So make sure that we as a bookkeeper we properly account and monitor expenses, especially sa payroll. Kasi malaking portion ng expenses na pupunta sa payroll. So inconsistent treatment of payroll can overstate profit and loss and it may understate expenses. Okay, so malaking portion ng payroll is considered as deductibility. Okay? Deductible ang expenses ang payroll, I think. So technically, pag wala kayong payroll sa kaya hanap ng expenses, okay, na pampababa doon sa ITR, especially sa quarterly ITR. So it's better that you also double check payroll. So again, you double check not only the figures but yung kung may leave credits pa si employee, kung meron pa bang utang si employee na dapat i-account, okay, yung other mga deductions, so OT, OT pay, holiday pay, so you need to double check, okay, and properly recognize payroll. Next, neglecting depreciation amortization. So again, you should also consider recognizing depreciation, meaning you allocate expenses for the use of the fixed asset. So yung portion ng fixed asset is kino-convert as an expense. So dapat i-recognize natin yung accumulated depreciation, same with intangible asset but it's termed as amortization. Okay? The failure to depreciate or to recognize depreciation and amortization may overstate fixed assets, understated yung balance sheet mo. Ma-overstate yung asset. Okay, especially yung cost nung book value nung property o nung asset. And at the same time, yung income statement mo overstated. Why? Kasi tawag dito, the more na hindi natin i-record properly yung depreciation, so siyempre yung profit mo, yung bottom line mo lalaki. Okay? And also when you also consider entering depreciation, you should check that the newly acquired assets. You should also check the acquisition date and consider the your client's fixed asset policy. Okay? Wait lang po. Okay, next. The recording revenue and expense in the wrong period. This is also a common issue. Okay? Most of our clients and also kayong lahat as bookkeepers and accountant are familiar with accrual basis of accounting. Okay, so accrual basis is technically recording expenses and revenue regardless if cash is paid or cash is received. Meaning, pag dumating yung bill, pag dumating nag-invoice tayo sa client, we will record the transaction as is kahit wala pa tayong nilalabas sa payment or kahit wala pa tayong nakokollect ng payment. So, it's important that we properly recognize revenue and expense in the period which they occur. Okay? So, dapat may proper matching ng revenue and expense. Okay? For example, technically, an unearned revenue should be recorded as a liability. Why? Because unearned revenue is a revenue. Okay, these are transactions wherein your client has paid already you or you paid um meaning si client nagbayad agad doon sa vendor niya in advance. So technically sa part nung seller, meron na silang unearned revenue. Kaya siya liability kasi unang-una sa lahat, the seller has still the responsibility to render the services since binayaran siya agad in advance. So as the time goes by, you need to recognize the revenues from the period which it occurred. So for sure yung mga unearned revenue, meron yung parang period kung kailan mo dapat i-recognize yung revenue. So hahatiin mo yon depende doon sa period, okay? Yun. So it's also important that you properly accrue expenses, okay? So I hope all of you are quite very familiar with accrual basis because most of the companies, okay, I think majority of the companies, even the BIR and SCC, is encouraging the using the accrual basis of accounting, okay, instead of the cash basis. Okay, kasi mas maganda sa paningin ng client kapag accrual basis instead of cash basis. Kasi ang cash basis, pag nag-report ka ng expenses mo, mag-report ka lang kapag nagbayad ka na ng expenses mo. Eh paano kung halimbawa let's say nagbayad ka ng kuryente, let's say August. August naka-receive ka ng bill, tapos binayaran mo siya ng September. Sa cash basis na accounting, September pong i-record yung expense. Ang question kasi noon is the expense really properly recognized in the period where they occurred? Iba dapat i-record mo siya as August kasi yung covered period ng expenses is August, hindi na September. Yeah, that's why majority of the companies, even our accounting standard, encourages the use of accrual basis of accounting. Okay? For reporting and compliance purposes. Okay? Next. All in all, of course, lahat ng adjusting entries that I mentioned before. So we have depreciation, accrual of expenses, recognition of revenue to unearned revenue. So and other adjusting entries necessary to correct your book balances is necessary. The failure to record adjusting entries can be misleading. Why? Because may mga expenses ka pa na hindi pa ina-accrue. So technically, ma-overstate yung income mo. Okay? Liliit yung expenses mo. Pero overstated naman ang income mo. So it's very important that we as bookkeepers understand the importance of adjusting entry. Pinakamahirap ituro ang adjusting entry nung ako po ay nag-aaral sa basic accounting. Okay? So, it's important that you as a bookkeeper dapat mas may alam kayo sa adjusting entry because diyan kayo din tatanungin ng mga client ninyo. Especially if your client does not really understand about accounting. So, since you have the full control or you have the records of your client, you should at least have an idea on how you can adjust or update the balance of your books, especially kapag preparation na ng financial statement this year. So for those clients or for those accountant that are also preparing audited financial statements sa ITR katulad ko, so we always ensure that we are properly recognizing adjusting entry to properly reflect the correct balances of all the accounts. Okay? Next. So that ends my presentation. So meron po ba kayong mga questions or concern with what I have discussed?
Any questions, guys? Or any tingin yung common mistake na hindi kasama dyan? Meron kayong masasuggest for further discussion? Lahat ba? Mga student. Anyone? May questions?
Um,
May question kasi 'di ba ito common mistake. So, daanan natin when we say basic bookkeeping, ano yung pag sinasabi mong basic and foundation, ano yung mga dapat aralin or malaman ng pag sinasabi mong, ay solid na yung foundation ko sa basic bookkeeping? Ano yung magsasabi na yun na yun? Ayan, si ano pala. Dot, meron kang questions. Ayan, share.
Yung question ko po, Coach, about sa depreciation po. Kasi actually, wala pa akong client for PH eh. Mostly US. So, hindi ako familiar sa US PH gap. So, yung question ko is about depreciation. Sa inyo po ba is straight line method lang po ba yung ginagamit niyo or depende kung paano magbe-benefit si client? Ano yung
actually,
ginagamit yung method?
Actually, sa mga clients namin, ang straight line lang talaga yung ginagamit natin na na depreciation. So, the reason why straight line yung encourage din ni Gaab kasi straightforward and it doesn't require so much computation. Kasi yung straight line method is basically just an estimate. So, depende doon sa policy ng client mo regarding sa depreciation. So, doon ka lang magbe-base kung ilang years yung useful life ng depreciation na mas magiging basis sa factor para makuha mo yung book value nung asset mo. So again, it depends on your client. Pero majority of our clients that we handle, walang gumagawa ng depreciation. So what we do is sa record lang sa record na lang namin, doon lang kami nagagawa ng depreciation. So mininote na lang namin kung may mga additional acquisition, meaning if they have assets na currently na purchase for the year, so they should be considered as an addition. Or kung may mga assets which has improved the its capacity or production. So technically para siyang ang term niya is um parang expenditure. So kinakapitalize yung instead na expense, kinakapitalize siya as cost ng asset. So depende pa rin pero technically here in the Philippines mostly straight line depreciation yung ginagamit ng client, but I'm not sure with um clients outside PH like US. I believe they have been using other methods such as double declining or units of production. So I don't have any idea of clients that are outside PH na gumagamit ng other method, but usually dito sa PH we use talaga straight line method.
Para may mga questions sa chat pa.
So with regard, may question po si Miss Sherry. With regard to recording proceeding, is it applicable to small business as well as local food stall business? Dito lang namin. Actually, if you have a policy regarding your depreciation, it depends. And also we have a so-called a materiality threshold which define kung dapat ka na bang mag-record ng depreciation. So again, it matters to your policy kung dapat ka na bang mag-depreciate. So in some of our clients, an asset that is worth 50,000 pesos is already considered as depreciable. So technically, fixed asset na siya. So the client will need to, or the accountant will need to record the monthly depreciation. So in depreciation, depende rin. Pwede rin, ang computation may depend pa rin sa policy. So may mga client kasi na at the beginning of the very beginning of the following month pa i-record depreciation or half month. So it's a choice. So magmamatter pa rin yun sa policy po ninyo as an owner of the business. Ayun, so I hope I was able to answer your question, Miss Cherry. Next, so good afternoon, Sir Carl. You mentioned a while ago that not all transactions are recorded in journal entries. What transactions are those? Okay. What platform are you using? Are you using QuickBooks? Are you using Xero? Are you using Oracle NetSuite? So again, it depends on the platform that you use. For QuickBooks Online, of course, when you record an invoice, it should be an invoice. Okay? Okay, so QB and Xero. So ano po yung mga transaction na hindi dapat i-record sa journal entry? Of course, yung regular na invoicing. So you should use invoice when you record transactions to your customers on account. So yung mga AR ninyo, so it's invoice. When you have clients, walking clients, and pay you immediately at the time of sale, you use sales receipt. Okay? If you have expenses to be paid later, you should use the bill. When you need to pay the bill, you should use pay bills. Okay? When you in QuickBooks Online, when you need to pay a credit card, you should use the pay down credit card picture. Okay? When you need to adjust your inventory, especially the QuickBooks Online kasi is quantity lang ina-adjust, so you should use inventory quantity adjustment. Okay? When you need to record returns of your customer clients, meaning nagbalik si client ng item, inventory item, so you should use credit note. Kabaligtaran ng credit note is vendor refund or supplier credit. Pag tayo naman mismo, tayong vendor, tayo yung bumili ng item tapos may ibabalik tayo. So, i-return natin. So, those are the some of the transaction that should be recorded in its nature or transaction type. So, other than that, okay, so kapag ka naman po adjusting entry ng inventory, sa inventory quantity adjustment kayo mag-a-adjust, hindi kayo pwede mag-record ng journal entry. Why? Kasi pag nag-record kayo ng journal entries sa inventory, ang tatamaan lang ng GL balance mo. Pag chinek mo yung GL balance mo at yung inventory SL mo, hindi sila tutugma. Kaya kapag nag-a-adjust kayo ng inventory, hindi ko ina-encourage si client na mag-journal entry kasi hindi natutugma doon pa lang yung inventory ninyo. So, malaking audit findings na yun. Ayun. So, was I was able to answer your question, Miss Marlene?
Any more questions? Di ba exciting? So, anything. Ay, yung question ko, Carlo, when you say solid foundation, ano yung dapat nilang aralin talaga na doon nila itutukin or i-practice? I think tayo, alam natin, meron tayong naging estudyante na tinuruan. Na estudyante pa lang siya nagpaturo kay Carlo, ginag namin. So, ang advice mo, Carlo, is what?
Okay, so dapat ano pa lang, si QuickBooks Online kasi or these are platforms. Okay, they don't actually help you to analyze. So, ibig sabihin, these platforms are used to simplify the work. Pero yung analysis ng transaction should come within us. So, pag si client ang bigay ng transaction, we have to decide and we have to analyze the transaction well. The nature of the account titles, asset, liability, dapat alam natin yan lahat ng yan. Also, alam din natin yung ibig sabihin ng debit at saka credit. Okay? Dapat tayo mismo accountant, hindi na tayo dapat masyado nalilito doon. And I also encourage you to use the accounts. Mag-manual pa rin kayo if sa tingin nyo nalilitok pa kayo pag nag-a-analyze kayo ng transaction. And also, if also, you may also want to ask auditors. Si auditors din kasi malaking tulong din on us kasi siyempre, hindi naman lahat ng accounting sakop natin. Technically, kapag kami medyo malawak na and medyo material na yung issue, so you can also ask auditors or seek the help of professional auditors because they can really actually help us in ensuring of accuracy and a reliable financial reporting. Ayun. So, basta importante yung basic accounting. I mean, yung kung ano yung debit, ano yung credit, dapat doon pa lang may idea na kayo. Kasi, I have clients na wala talagang zero knowledge sa accounting. So what did I do in that way? Binigyan ko lang sila ng basic lang. Yung basic transaction lang na dapat nilang malaman. So yun lang yung kailangan nyo ipaintindi sa kanila. And as an accountant, dapat mas maipaintindi natin sa kanila yun ng maayos. And then also adjusting entry. So dapat tayo mismo, we monitor expenses na receive yung actual bill. Tapos yung mga earning income dapat i-reverse din. Depreciation, amortization, accrued payroll. So yun yung mga adjusting entries. So dapat alam din natin yan. FS. So kami gumagawa din ako ng FS. So tapos